We're going to tell you what really happened between them today. Finding out his name, Leonardo DiCaprio, seemed like fate. Ermeline, his mother, was looking at a picture by Leonardo da Vinci in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy, in 1974 when she felt her baby kick for the first time. She decided right then to name her child Leonardo. In Los Angeles, he was born on November 11, 1974. David Leonardo DiCaprio was his full name. His German grandfather, Wilhelm, gave him the middle name. His mother had an exciting birth, too. She was born in Germany on February 7, 1943, while bombs were falling outside the air raid bunker. It was during World War II. This family seemed to be surrounded by drama and tension from the start. But things quickly became stressful. In 1975, not even a year after Leonardo was born, his parents split up. It was true that his dad, George, was seeing someone else. But they didn't totally split up. Instead, they came up with something strange. They moved into two small houses that both had gardens. His mom and dad each have their own house, as well as his new lover, the mother and her son Adam. Leonardo moved back and forth between order and chaos, and this made him who he was. Underground art and comic books were big parts of his dad's life. Because he couldn't afford to send Leonardo to college, he joked that the kid should just become a movie star. Even though they were no longer together, his parents always supported his dream. Leo spent some summers with his grandparents in Germany. As a treat, he got 10 points in a big ice cream. On August 25, 1984, during one of those summers, he competed in a break dancing event in Jurkenschwick. He danced without shoes on and thought his name was the Noodle. He came in second place. He nearly broke down in tears from wanting that Walkman so badly. I think he was 9 years old, but danced like he belonged on stage. He was so upset about losing that chance that by age 11, he really considered quitting acting to become a breakdancer full-time. He put on shows on the streets and joined dance fights in the area. The way he talks was taught to him by his grandmother Helene, who died in 2008. Even after he became famous, he kept going to see her. It was rough where Leonardo lived, though. The East Hollywood area where he grew up was known as Scum Boulevard. Criminal activity was common everywhere. He saw prostitutes on the corner of his street. Drug users walked around the streets. It appeared to be a scene from the movie Taxi Driver. His mother and him lived at 1874 Hillhurst Avenue, which was near dangerous and broken-down streets. His mother tried very hard to make things work as a law secretary. After seeing everything, Leonardo chose to leave. Going to auditions was no longer just a dream. They were holding on. His way out of poverty, and to help his mom, was to become an actor. He first went to Seeds Elementary, which is now UCLA Lab School. There were kids from all walks of life there, and he said it was a peaceful place. But high school was different. He moved to John Marshall High School and was picked on there. His name wasn't normal. His energy wasn't right. Things got so bad that he quit school after his junior year was over. For every tryout, he begged his mom to drive him. He didn't go back after getting his GED. He once considered becoming a marine biologist, but acting and imitating people made him feel like he was missing his real calling. Giving up school was a risk, but it was one he was willing to take. He did his first show when he was only 2 years old, in 1976. At a fair, little Leonardo started to dance as soon as the music started. It wasn't his job to act, but the cheers and claps from the crowd made him want to. Once he started doing voices and accents in front of people, he couldn't stop. It was like a play in his house. At that moment, his mom knew he was unique. However, things did not go as planned. As a child of 5 years old, he got a job on the kids' show Romper Room in 1979. Sadly, he was unable to remain still. A lot of jumping, flipping, and even hitting the camera. The crew couldn't keep him in check. They stopped recording him, but not really fired him. The joke and his family made fun of it, but it taught him a hard lesson. Laughter alone isn't enough. Also, you need to be disciplined. He was already doing TV ads when he was 14 years old, in 1988. His goods included Matchbox cars, Apple Jacks, Bubble Yum, and Kraft singles. Every advertisement taught him something. Being told what to do, saying what to say, and staying calm under pressure were all things he learned. He started making a lot of money. They saved the money, but they had no idea that it would help an Oscar winner's career. That being said, the road was rough. Leonardo finally got a small part on The New Lassie in 1989, but not before being turned down 18 times before that. A lot of people tried out for him, but he wasn't chosen. So one casting director told his dad to change his name to Lenny Williams. His dad was very mad. He tore up Headshot's fake name and told Leonardo he would never let it happen. But being turned down over and over again wore him down. After failing another interview, he told his dad, "Dad, I want to be an actor. What it's like now makes me doubt my ability to do it." He continued because his dad told him to. That words of support were very important. Some news stories later said he came in third, even though he had won second place in that German dance competition in 1984. He really was heartbroken that he didn't win. When he was 11, this happened in 1987. He almost quit acting to do breakdancing full-time. He did his show barefoot on the streets. Hollywood managers didn't know what to do with him because he looked like a break dancer and had crazy hair. His dad always let him be himself, even when it wasn't what most people would do. A change happened in 1990. He got a regular TV job on Parenthood, where he played Gary Buckman. Eventually, when he was 16, he got to work with big directors like Ron Howard. In 12 shows, he played parts, and he was even nominated for Best Young Actor. Feeling like he belonged in Hollywood for the first time was amazing. Later, in 1991, he played Luke Brower, a homeless kid, on Growing Pains. He was hired to boost ratings. They want to bring back the hot energy of past seasons. In 23 shows, he showed up. He was smart, sure of himself, and even nominated for another Young Artist Award. A few weeks before the season ended, though, they wrote him out so he could film This Boy's Life in 1993. That part would alter everything. However, there was a time before that big hit that he wished everyone would forget. Critters 3 was a straight-to-video horror sequel that he made in 1991. It had a low budget, a lot of rubber monsters, and a 23% rating. Josh, the son of a bad owner, was played by him. It was a disaster. Only one apartment building was used for filming, and some scenes were so dark that it was hard to see. He never denied it, but DiCaprio also didn't talk about it much. Leonardo's first real job was on the soap show Santa Barbara. In past scenes in 1990, he played Mason Capwell when he was younger. Even though there were only 5 shows, the pace was very fast. Every day, he had to remember a lot of words. He built up the strength to handle that kind of stress on movie sets later on. At the 12th Youth in Film Awards, he was named again for his work. When Leonardo DiCaprio tried out for This Boy's Life in 1993, he was only 18 years old. His first goal wasn't even to play the lead. He showed up with a small part after finishing his role on the TV show Growing Pains. However, something changed in the room as soon as he began to read. That kid had something special, Robert De Niro told director Art Linson. De Niro had already won 2 Oscars at that point. The Leo wasn't just pretending. He wasn't following the script, so he was improvising and taking chances. Sometimes, De Niro backed up people he didn't know, but he made sure Leo got the lead. Leo's first major part in a movie, and it was the start of a 30-year friendship with De Niro that would last until Killers of the Flower Moon in 2023. Earlier that year, Leo, who was 19 years old, beat out Christian Bale to play Arnie in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. As an alternative to reading lines, Leo visited a home for teens with mental illnesses and carefully observed everything that went on there. Behaviors like how they moved, talked, and responded. He stayed in character throughout the whole thing. It was thought by many that the filmmakers had chosen someone who was actually disabled. Of course, it was Leo. At age 19, he was nominated for his first Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. From November 2nd, 1992, to late January 1993, most of the filming took place in Austin and Pflugerville, Texas. Some reviewers said that his acting felt real and raw, like it was born naturally. In the 1995 Basketball Diaries, Leo went even further. His role was Jim Carroll, a teen hooked on heroin and lost. Leo watched videos of real users going through detox to get ideas for the scenes that showed withdrawal. Then he acted it out while shaking, sweating, and making a lot of sound. His character sells himself in a public bathroom for $35 in a shocking scene. Director Scott Calvert had a hard time filming these scenes for several days. Leo wasn't acting painful. He let it all out by thrashing around on the floor. People who reviewed it said it was one of the most bluntly honest shows of the 1990s. At the end of that year, in Total Eclipse, Leo did something very risky. A movie he was in, Arthur Rambo, made only $350,000 in the US. even though he was only 20 years old. It had full frontal nudity and same-sex love scenes. There was a scene where Leo stood at a window naked. The movie was given an AR rating because it has violent and sexual material. In the end, magazines like Playgirl paid a lot of money for stills from the movie. A lot of movie houses wouldn't show it. Americans weren't ready to see their new teen star in such a raw and adult part, even though it was based on real events. That event almost put an end to his career before it even started. Something else that happened to Leo in 1995 was that Sharon Stone changed everything. The company did not want him for the quick and the dead, even though he tried out. They told Sharon to pay him herself if she wanted him. Exactly what she did. With money from her own job, she gave him more than $100,000. Russell Crowe's pay was also taken care of. No one else, but Leo cried when his character begged his dad to love him in that scene. Sharon didn't think twice about believing in him. Afterward, Leo said, "I can't thank her enough." His interest in Titanic began with that movie. Everything went crazy when Titanic came out on December 19, 1997. Leonardo became the world's most famous star after the movie made $2.2 billion. But it was a terrible shoot. Water tanks were only 50 degrees. Kate Winslet got a lung infection. Leo tried not to get cold by staying in warm water as much as possible. After that, something strange happened. At night, someone put PCP in the crew's clam soup. 80 people who were confused and throwing up were taken to hospitals. James Cameron pushed the actors by making them work 20-hour days. People passed out. Only $2.5 million was given to Leo, regardless of the $200 million price tag. It was almost a disaster for everyone, but that movie made Leo famous all over the world. Back in 2006, Leo tried to get over his fear of sharks while he was off from shooting Blood Diamond. Someone went missing on the charity cage diving trip off the coast of Cape Town. 25-foot-long great white shark crashed into the cage and went about halfway inside. It snapped its jaws just inches from Leo's face as he slammed into the ground. Crew members said that had not happened in 30 years. Leo said he would never do anything like that again because it was so scary. Leo's next movie was The Man in the Iron Mask, which came out in 1998. Although it made $183 million, reviews were mixed. One was a bad king, and the other was in jail. Behind the scenes, though, people talked about how tough he was to deal with. He wanted personal sword trainers, accent coaches, and makeup lessons that were quiet for 4 hours. The company rushed the movie to cash in on his skyrocketing popularity. It went wrong. Some reviewers thought he didn't fit in with players like John Malkovich and Jeremy Irons who are older. Boogie Nights was turned down by Leo earlier in 1997. Director Paul Thomas Anderson gave him the part of Dirk Diggler after reading The Basketball Diaries. Others working for Leo tried to get him to pick Titanic instead. Not getting paid $3 million and 5% of income would have been more than $50 million. He told Anderson many years later that not seeing the movie was the worst thing he ever did, and that he still felt bad about it. Leo went to new places in 2002 because of Gangs of New York. For months, they worked 18-hour days filming in Rome. He worked with Daniel Day-Lewis, who never changed into a different person. One time, Leo said, "Good morning," but Day-Lewis just grunted back. The actor refused to sit in modern chairs and kept playing Bill the Butcher even between takes. The tension between them made their fight on screen seem real. In 2004, Leo played Howard Hughes in the movie The Aviator. He worked out and learned more about obsessive-compulsive disorder. He worked with experts at UCLA and met real people who had OCD. He felt his mild childhood OCD coming back while shooting. He played out parts in which Hughes scrubbed his hands so hard they bled. The movie was nominated for 11 Oscars and cost $110 million to make. Leo got his first nomination for Best Actor. Leo had to deal with Jack Nicholson's improvisation in The Departed, 2006. Not telling anyone, Nicholson pulled out a real gun all of a sudden. He put it right in front of Leo's face. It was real to be scared on TV. There was no warning for Leo. Additionally, Nicholson flashed props and added creepy lines without notice. Leo became more and more like a secret cop who has lost control because of how unpredictable things were. Meanwhile, in 2006, Blood Diamond pushed him again. He worked hard at nailing his South African accent and read about real-life soldiers. The movie looked at Sierra Leonean child troops. Leo saw what war had done to children when he met them. Kitties were made to walk for days and kill their own families, he learned. A group for human rights said that 10,000 children were involved. 24 real kids who were in the movie worked closely with Leo. Additionally, it won him a second Oscar nomination and $171 million. For Revolutionary Road, 2008, Leo worked with Kate Winslet again. In the 1950s, they played a couple that was breaking up. Because Leo and Kate fought off-screen too, the fights felt so real. Within the 1950s, he looked at how guys talked, smoked, and controlled their anger. They were both emotionally tired, as Kate later said. DiCaprio got a Golden Globe for his part in The Great Gatsby in 2013. Others thought that his role as Jay Gatsby might have been the best of his career. The film, which cost $105 million to make, made $353 million around the world, which is 3 times its budget. But things got messy instead of just being happy about the win. Some people began to say that his real life looked a lot like Gatsby's. He was having wild parties in Cannes, hanging out on boats, and generally acting like a rich kid. In particular, Gatsby was attacked for this. It was in the news. The movie that was supposed to illustrate the harmful effects of wealth turned into a reflection of DiCaprio's unique features. Even so, reviewers said his acting was great. One called it the tremendous and hard one. And it showed all of Gatsby's sides. He was tough, he was weak, he was fake, he was funny, and he was sad. Although the win showed his range, the negative reactions made it hard to enjoy. In 2014, DiCaprio was nominated for an Oscar for The Wolf of Wall Street. People will always remember the scene where he crawled on the floor while high on Quaaludes. It wasn't even planned. The Drunkest Man in the World is a YouTube movie that he used as inspiration. It happened more than 500 times in the movie, which is a world record. It became Scorsese's biggest hit ever and made $407 million around the world. This was DiCaprio's 4th and 5th Oscar nominations, this time for starring and this time for producing. Although he lost again, this time to Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club. There were disagreements about whether the movie praised Wall Street greed or warned against it. Things got worse behind the scenes. Red Granite Pictures, which helped pay for the movie, was later linked to a scheme to hide $4.5 billion. Some gifts that DiCaprio had to return were a $3.2 million Picasso and a $9 million Basquiat. After many years, DiCaprio finally got an Oscar for The Revenant in 2015. There were some problems, though. For one scene, he slept in a real dead horse and ate raw bison meat. During shooting, it was so cold that he was at risk of getting hypothermia. It took 156 days to shoot in the wild with only natural light. The terrifyingly real bear attack scene was made with CGI and hundreds of real attack films. It started out that the plot only said Huey Glass fights the bear. However, DiCaprio saw that it wasn't a fight. To stay alive, a big cat was reportedly throwing him around like a ball of yarn. Having lost 5 times before, he finally won his first Oscar when he was 41 years old. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood put DiCaprio up for another award in 2020. His role was Rick Dalton. This is a dying star who wants to win an Oscar like Leonardo DiCaprio did in his later years. The part needed a lot of mental work. He even made up scenes where he started crying on the spot. A lot of people thought it was his best work ever. Some of the most memorable scenes were the ones where he and Brad Pitt were talking about how their careers were ending. He lost the Oscar to Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, but many people thought he earned it. People thought the part was a nod to old Hollywood. A strong picture of Leonardo DiCaprio had been made. People thought of him as a serious actor, an environmentalist, and a man with a clear goal. In reality, things weren't as clean as they seemed. In 2013 and 2014, Leonardo received expensive gifts from Joe Low, a rich Malaysian businessman. The price of one was $3.2 million for a picture by Pablo Picasso. An $8 million collage by Jean-Michel Basquiat was another. Also, there was the original Oscar figurine for Marlon Brando. It was worth a sum of $12.2 million. All of it came from over $3 billion that was stolen from Malaysia's 1MDB fund. Even worse, some of this stolen money, $238 million, was used to pay for Leonardo's role in the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. That money went through Red Granite Pictures. Their office was connected to Leonardo's own production business, Appian Way Productions. What Leonardo owned was returned to the U.S. government in 2017. The Justice Department said it was the world's biggest case of theft. Still more questions came up. Leonardo often talked about how to save the world, but what he did made people look twice. 6 weeks in 2014 were all that he flew on private jets. It would still be 44 tons of carbon dioxide even if those trips were considered business. But each person on a private jet makes 37 times more smog. He hired the world's 5th biggest yacht as well. Oil magnate from the UAE owns it. In 2016, all he did was fly 8,000 miles from Europe to New York to get an award for environmental work. Some experts say that his real carbon impact each year could be around 10,000 tons, 500 times more than the average American. Critics said that the tree planting program he did wasn't even close to making up for the pollution he caused. Before the Flood is a video that Leonardo put out in 2016 about climate change. He went to 5 countries, flew over oil fields in helicopters, and went to faraway places like the Arctic. He talked to different heads of state and the Pope. The show brought in more than $1 million in carbon tax money to help plant trees, but the full costs were never made public. People were confused about why so much money was spent on trips instead of supporting clean energy. In the movie, Leonardo himself said that his carbon impact was probably bigger than most people's. He still had growth in his business, Appian Way. That was in 2001, and by 2020, it had made a big deal with Sony Pictures. The company helped make movies and programs with big budgets. Due to profit sharing, Leonardo got more power over the project and higher profits. He made $50 million from inception. Killers of the Flower Moon paid him $30 million, and Don't Look Up paid him the same amount. Both movies were made by Appian Way. He got $20 million to $30 million for each part, but he often made more money from producing. His image as a climate fighter began to break down, though. Leonardo and his girlfriend, Vittoria Soretti, took a private jet to Mexico in January 2025 when flames hit Los Angeles. Even though he gave $1 million to help with the fires, people still criticized him for the trip. In July 2025, he faced criticism for helping to pay for a high-class hotel near Tel Aviv while there was fighting in Gaza. In June of the same year, he went to Jeff Bezos' funeral. Even though Amazon had been criticized for damage to the earth, his face was hidden by a cap, which cameras saw. People on social media asked him if he had flown there on a private jet when he was in Spain later to gather trash for a documentary. The stories from his past got even scarier. Sometime in the late 1990s, skateboarder Harold Hunter said that he and Leonardo would push women into having sex even if they said no. This was during Leonardo's so-called pussy pussy moment, when he and other young stars like Tobey Maguire were known for partying hard. That interview got a lot of attention again in 2022 after it was shared online in 2019. Hunter talked about these actions in a way that suggested he didn't think they were important. Meanwhile, Leonardo and Tobey Maguire stopped the release of a movie they had written and directed called Don's Plum. The movie was shot in 1996 and 1997, and Leonardo played a scary character. There was a scene where he threw a bottle at a woman and called her a whore. They were being sued for $10 million by the movie's director, who said they were trying to shut down the movie. After that, the director wrote an open letter in which he blamed Leonardo for bullying and censoring. The movie was finally shown in other countries, but it would never be shown again in the US or Canada. What other things did people talk about? Leonardo's past relationships. News stories said he had never been seen with a woman over 25. In 2022, 2 months after Camilla Morrone turned 25, they broke up. In 2005, Gisele Bündchen, Bar Raffaelli, and 2015, Kelly Rohrbach all had the same thing happen to them. In June 2023, his girlfriend at the moment, Vittoria Soretti, turned 26. Their difference in age, he is now 50 years old, made them talk even more. A funny thing Amy Schumer said about DiCaprio at the 2022 Oscars was that he was trying to leave the world in better shape for his younger women. His 1996 filming of Romeo and Juliet also had problems. Claire Danes was only 16 years old, and he was 21. Afterward, she said he was always acting silly and childish. He told her she was tense. There wasn't much talking between them when they weren't shooting. Later, she told him she liked him, but she also said it was hard to work with him. They did not work together again. Afterwards, 2 more public problems happened to Leonardo in 2025. During Paris Fashion Week in March, He refused to pose for pictures with fans and seemed detached, which many people saw as a diva moment. In August of that year, police stopped him at a party in Ibiza because they didn't know him. Getting in required him to show ID. Other famous people, like Kendall Jenner, walked right in. Even the rapper Travis Scott was turned away. Someone overheard DiCaprio's girlfriend say, "They're searching me full on right now." In Killers of the Flower Moon, he had to wear fake teeth that were gross and act like a man who poisoned his wife slowly. The killings of Osage people that took place from 1918 to 1931 were shown in the movie. For their oil rights, more than 60 Native Americans were killed. Leonardo said that was one of the scariest roles he had ever had. It took about 206 minutes to make and cost about $212.15 million worldwide. The movie made $158 million and was nominated for 10 Oscars. But some people said it was bad because it had too many white characters and not enough Native American voices. Additionally, the story was important since it was the FBI's first big case. One fight after another, Leonardo surprised everyone by refusing to use method acting in a different 2025 movie. Even though he played a stoned rebel named Bob Ferguson, when asked to smoke on camera, he said, "Can't do it, can't perform." The movie cost more than 130 billion rupees. Opening weekend in the US with $22.4 million. It was produced using old VistaVision cameras, and it was his first time working with director Paul Thomas Anderson. Leonardo told her that he had admired Anderson ever since he saw Boogie Nights many years ago. His films have made a total of $6.95 billion around the world, plus an extra $701 million for movies and TV shows made by Appian Way. In their first weekends, 11 of his flicks made more than $20 million. A lot of people look up to him, like Timothée Chalamet, who has won 3 Golden Globes. Although his movies cause a lot of discussion, he still makes around $30 million per movie. They left Warner Brothers in 2025 and signed a new 3-year deal with Paramount Pictures. Leo says he's slowing down now that he's 50 years old. It's important to him that the stories he writes matter and last. Things are getting tough between him and Vittoria Soretti. According to Vogue France, she doesn't like being known as DiCaprio's lover only. This is the first time anyone has said he worries about being abandoned. There are still pictures of them together in New York, but her friends and family say she may be ready to break up with him. He has never been married and is said to have never meant to. The business that Leonardo ran is working on new tasks. Martin Scorsese and him are working together again on The Devil in the White City, and he is working with Jennifer Lawrence on What Happens at Night. His other idea is a work of climate fiction called Sandcastle Empire. The next movies in this series will be more about sustainability and the destruction of the Earth. In his words, he is no longer looking for awards. That's all he wants to do with movies. Make them that make people think and last for decades.